A song.
I'm sure.
Ready for what? It's like a deep voice. I think it's like Pitbull or something. Ready for whatever. I like my deep voice.
Hello, Benjamin.
Hello, Robert.
Are you ready to podcast
I'm
today?
always ready to podcast today, Robert.
All right, maybe we should do the entire podcast in this deep voice.
No, I'm not doing that. That's way too much effort.
But it's fun. It's time. We're here.
We're back.
Did we not record last week?
No, so I actually counted because it felt like it had been too long. It's the, 24th today? Yes, it is. And we podcasted on the 9th, which means it's been 15 days. I think that should be the maximum allowed break for us. 15 days.
Oh, that's unreasonable.
That's too long. I was thinking more like 10 days.
And we thought we were going to record last week. I think we were both in bad moods. It's different parts of the week.
Yes, we were. So we both mutually agreed that we would not be in the correct headspace to podcast at that time.
Because believe it or not, we do have emotions, and we do get upset sometimes.
That's false, Robert. I'm actually a robot.
Yeah, you can be. And me, on the other hand, overly emotional all the time.
Oh.
We were going to release the Casey Patterson last week, but then we decided not to because we thought we were going to record our own podcast, and we're like, let's save that for a week when we're not in the same place and we can't publish our own podcast with the two of us. But then we ended up posting neither.
Yeah, I love that we're skipping around already because I was just about to talk about the Casey Patterson episode, and it's way down here in Freestyle somewhere. But really what I was just going to say is, in retrospect, I'm very excited to listen to it again because I don't generally like listening to my own voice, but I will listen to some of our episodes again. Yeah. And I really want to listen to the Casey one again because that one was definitely very cool and very interesting. But at any rate, we'll probably release it like a week from now, approximately.
And after we finished that too, I was just messaging with Casey, and I was like, dude, I don't really feel like we talked for like an hour, but I felt like we didn't cover half the stuff that we could have. There's so much more to talk about.
On the way over, I was putting down topics, and I was like kind of at a loss. It's like, I don't know how we're going to talk. Like, I don't know how much he wants to. I don't even know like how much he's into pickleball. And it just transformed into something where we just kind of let him go, and he was talking about incredible stuff. And then when I look back at my topics, I was just like, well, I addressed like barely any of these, and I'm okay with it because we talked. It turned out he just came up with a lot of better stuff, and it led us in good directions. That's just a good podcast, Robert. When you let the flow take you into the right areas, good things happen.
It's just like a running river.
Oh, I just got chills.
Just lay down and just surrender.
I like chills. Is there any song that makes you get chills, or like a movie scene? It's very rare for me, but there are certain like movie scenes that always give me chills, and I love it.
This is really dumb. I'll just preface it with that.
I like it.
I'll preface with that. There's only one that comes to mind, really. And so I grew up in Georgia as a huge Georgia Bulldog fan, University of Georgia football. And there's this artist kind of local to Georgia named Corey Smith, kind of a little of a twang country type artist, but sings about and writes about very relatable stuff to people that grew up in Georgia. So growing up in Georgia, I could relate to all of his lyrics, and he wrote one song that I believe was, I think it's called Every Dog, but it's basically Every Dog Has Its Day, and he's singing about Georgia football and goes back into some of like the most iconic moments of Georgia football. And there's certain parts of that song where, there's the play-by-play announcer for Georgia for a really long time was probably one of the most iconic sportscasters in all of sports, just because he was such a homer. Like you're meant to be.
What's a homer?
Like such a homer is in like he just wanted Georgia to win so bad, but he was supposed to be unbiased and supposed to just be giving the play-by-play. And so he'd get so into it when Georgia was doing well. And he had just all of these iconic calls. And one was like he just gets carried away, and like Georgia beats Tennessee, the Volunteers, on like a last-minute touchdown. And he's like, we just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot. just random stuff like that. So that gives me chills. I got chills right now just because it was such an iconic call. And then Larry Munson died not too long ago, maybe a few years ago. And so
Did you say his name was Larry Munson?
Larry Munson, yeah.
Like Roy Munson from Kingpin?
Yeah. But Larry.
Got Munson.
Yeah, got Munson. So so Corey Smith sings about that, and that gives me chills. So that's a little tangent, but it's worth it. So if you want like a really good football call, look up Larry Munson UGA football.
I don't even know how we got on the topic of chills, and suddenly I'm talking about Roy Munson and Kingpin.
Because Munson. Because Munson.
Oh, all right.
What
that's a
song
good
gives you
start.
chills?
Oh, it's so stupid.
Oh, so welcome.
My story is not as long and developed as that. It is the chorus or the crescendo of "My Heart Will Go On" by Celine Dion.
I mean, that's pretty fantastic, too.
My favorite is pairing it. There's a YouTube channel called Everything Is Better with Titanic, and they basically play the crescendo to "My Heart Will Go On" with like a movie scene or a sports scene or something, and it's absolutely true. It makes every single scene better.
so
Like there's
true.
scenes from Game of Thrones where I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Or there's like when Federer came back and won the Australian Open, like the championship point, it was just such an epic story, and his reaction was amazing. And to like pairing that with the music is one of my favorite things ever.
But isn't it crazy, like, what music can actually do to, like, to anything? To, like,
energize you to, like
it
just
creates such strong
it invokes-
emotion.
It invokes emotion.
Yeah.
I'd say one of my, just going on a tangent
Yeah.
again, one of my favorite movies of all time, very underrated, and a lot of people don't even know about it, and it has one of my favorite scenes of all time that always gives me chills, is Seabiscuit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even a horse fan. I never rode horses.
Yeah.
I never got into horses in any way, but it's a horse movie, and it gets better every time you watch it. It's very deep in a lot of ways, and it's just an incredible story.
If you're a dude that's probably, 5 foot, I don't know how tall jockeys are, like horse
I
jockeys.
think they usually range from high 4s to low 5s.
Yeah, so if that's like, if you're a dude and that's what you max out at, like, you have to be a horse jockey. What else are you gonna
have to
do?
be.
What else are you gonna do? Just
'Cause
like,
there's just not many
dude, you're
options
built
in this
for it.
world.
There's some people built to be NBA stars. You're 6'8", 6'10", whatever. You're meant to play. Well, nowadays tennis, but if you're that tall, you just have to do certain things. If you're that short, you have to also do certain things, and that's being a horse jockey. What a missed opportunity if you're not. If you are 4'8" to 5'2" and you're a male listening to this podcast, stop listening. Go get on a horse and start training.
Because you could be great.
You could be great. Okay. So bear with us. We are going to talk a lot about pickleball. We just, for whatever reason, have not.
Not at all. Da 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 da. The Freestyle Boys with Rob Nunnery and Ben Johns.
That was a little different.
Yeah, I wanted to throw a little bit of a spin to it.
You're an innovator.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of how I say good morning to you, like, oh, good morning, Robert.
Let me tell the story about why that happens. So, actually, Lucy's right here. She's taking a little nap because you took her on a walk this morning around this beautiful lake right here. Lake, river, whatever it is. And anyways, so whenever I'd wake up in the morning, I'd get out of bed before Jack. I'd come outside. Lucy would come with me because she was in the bedroom. And then when she'd come out, she would have like these sleepy eyes, and she was just so happy. Her tail would be wagging, and I'd always just go, "Good morning, Lucy. How are you?" And then she'd be even happier, doing her little wiggle, and then she'd immediately go into downward dog to stretch, and then I would go, "Big stretch," and she was just the happy. So it's every morning, and she's so happy. So now I was telling Benjamin that, and then I started doing it to you initially. And I'm like, let's see if he gets really excited when I do this. Let's see if he does a big stretch.
Just show me some puppy excitement and see what happens.
So you just bring excitement to somebody. Say, "Good morning, Benjamin. How are you?"
Yeah.
Big stretch.
Yeah.
So now it's like an ongoing thing. We always do it.
All three ways. I'll do it to Robert. I'll do it to Jack. I get it back. It's great.
It's fun.
It's my favorite way to start a morning.
It does bring excitement.
It makes me happier.
Yeah, you walk
That's
out with a big
important.
smile, saying good morning. Well, it's a good way to start the day.
Try it. Just with no context. As one of our listeners, try it on maybe your significant other, and just do it to them in the morning to see what happens.
Just bring the excitement. Good morning. How are
They're
you?
gonna look at you like you're nuts.
Big stretch. Oh, it's so fun though. Oh, if we go at this pace for the entire podcast, we're going to be here for 13 hours.
We've gotten nowhere. We haven't even gotten to news and events, which is our first section.
Nothing we've talked about has actually been on our agenda today, which,
nope,
shocker.
Zero things. That might set a record, though. This is the longest we've been on a tangent to start an episode.
Yeah. I feel like we could go an entire episode like this if we wanted to, but let's
just normal stuff, Robert. We just talk about what we want to talk about, and it's
True.
just like two guys wearing headsets for no reason having a conversation. It's like headsets are imaginary. They don't actually convey anything.
I just actually wish this allowed me to fly airplanes. Right?
Is that because you watched Catch Me If You Can like 2 days ago? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to be a pilot.
Well, it was
A
like
pilot's job is miserable.
actually, as a kid, I did want to be a pilot. It was be a pilot or be Atlanta Braves baseball player.
To me, I mean, that second one's a nice aspiration, but to me, I would be miserable as a pilot. Like, you get to go a lot of new places, but it's just constant travel. It's like,
Yeah, it's definitely
flying is
it's
exhausting.
definitely it looks sexier than it actually is. That's true.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, just to go on another tangent. Can I do that?
Of course.
Okay, cool. All right. So growing up, I wanted to be either a pilot because basically my mom. So we lived in Forest Park, Georgia. It's a little town outside of Atlanta, close to College Park, and also close to the Atlanta airport. So my mom used to drive me, and we'd park at the side of a runway, and I would just sit there and be in awe watching planes take off and land. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I still think it's one of the coolest things in the world. How does that pile of
Behemoth
metal
get off the ground?
fly through the sky thousands of miles? It makes no sense. It makes some sense. But it doesn't really make a lot of sense just logically looking at it. It's like, how does that thing do that? Anyways, that's what made me want to be a pilot. Second, on being an Atlanta Braves baseball player, I've told you this story, but I don't think many people know this story other than my family and my teachers growing up. But I played t-ball like when I was 5. My favorite player in the world was a Braves player named Del Murphy, who should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not. It's a travesty and a crime that he's not. He was MVP several years, but he was always like just a really good human being, which is what attracted me to him as a baseball player. And anyways, so as a kid, I think from the age of like 4 to 5, something like that, I would refuse to let people call me by my name. And then I was called Robert. Like, they tried to say, Robert, come do this. I would just look at them and say, my name's not Robert. My name is Dale Murphy. And I did that to everybody. Parents, teachers, didn't matter. Tried to call me Robert. I refused and made them call me Del Murphy. And until they called me Del Murphy, I wouldn't do anything they wanted.
Oh, that sounds like your personality in a nutshell.
It actually does.
Never changed.
It all makes sense now.
It's never changed.
Yeah. I will not do this. I'm stubborn. Call me by my real name. So, another tangent. We're just going to keep it rolling. What else we got?
Tangents or actual
No,
podcasts?
let's get into it.
Okay, fine.
We've been going for 12 minutes now and talked about legitimately nothing.
Okay, so news and events, clarification on Nationals qualification process. So what's funny about this is you told me this news that the qualification process had actually been actually refined and people actually knew what was going on now.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is I still hadn't heard of it. I was like, where'd you get this information? I have no idea. Because there's no centralized source of information for anything.
Yeah, the only reason I found it was because the only rankings I look at are the World Pickleball rankings because that's the ranking that lists me the highest. So I'm like, I'm gonna follow these rankings. These rankings make a lot of sense to me. So they have it listed on that page though at the very bottom saying, I don't have it pulled up, but you guys can look it up. Pickleballtournaments.com, go to the rankings. It's at the bottom of the page. But from my understanding, just by reading through it, was that if you are ranked in the top 20 of any of those pro events, that you get an automatic, what do they call it, golden ticket?
Registration.
Very Willy Wonka-ish to call it golden ticket.
It is. Am I going to find it in a chocolate bar wrapper?
Not nearly as fun as Willy Wonka. Golden ticket to go to Palm Springs. I'd rather go to the chocolate factory.
And get chocolate for a lifetime.
Was that the deal?
Oh, yeah, it was part of the deal.
And then nobody knew you could actually take over the factory if you were a
No,
good person.
that was just a bonus.
Oh. Always be a good person. Charlie.
Good job, Charlie.
But then was it his uncle or his grandpa? His grandpa was trying to make him do like steal stuff, right? He's like, oh, this guy's a hack. Talking about Willie. Willie? Yeah. Nobody calls Willy Wonka Willie. But anyways, the grandpa was trying to, remember they were trying to he's like, oh, just take that, steal that, it's fine. And then Charlie refused, and that's why Willy Wonka chose him.
Are you talking about the movie or the book? Because in the book, Grandpa was awesome.
I think in the movie they made him not as awesome.
Yeah, they did.
Interesting.
That was bad. I like the book a lot better.
Such a homeschooler. Who reads Willy Wonka the book?
You know what, Robert? I'm going to slap you someday.
We do the same thing. Let's talk about Harry Potter. He's like, oh, in the book. I'm like, no, the movie. Why would I read a 1,300-page book when I can watch an hour-and-a-half movie?
Actually, the longest Harry Potter book is 870 pages.
Thank you. Also, another homeschool fact. You're welcome.
It's the 5th book.
I don't remember what we're talking about. Oh, the golden
Nationals,
ticket.
Nationals.
Tangents. Golden tickets.
You can't stop us today. Don't hold us back.
Yeah, don't. Just let us run. Spread our wings. Anyways, golden
Like the
ticket.
horse Pegasuses we are.
So top 20, I think if you're top 20 in any of the events, I think you get a golden ticket to all events.
I don't know. Why are you looking at me?
This is a well-researched podcast, obviously.
I thought it was respective event.
Sure.
Either one. The point is that you can register for nationals if you are in the top 20 of the rankings of the World Pickleball rankings. Basically, it's saying, hey, you are good enough to where you're getting into this tournament. There's no like lottery process or anything like that for you. And that's a great idea because I mean that's obviously how like the Grand Slams work. With Grand Slams in tennis, you have your ranking-based stuff, and then you have like some wild cards, then you have some qualification-based stuff. Like it's a combination of things. There's multiple ways to get in. But obviously this is one of the primary ways, which is just basing it on your ranking and just being like, yeah, you get the option to register because you're good enough. And I think that's great. I think it's better than just having this kind of random qualifying tournaments tour that they're trying to do, just because that's super unorganized at the moment, and the tournaments just aren't even good. So rankings make a lot more sense. I think the ranking system could do with a little bit of work, obviously, because Robert's way high up on it. What is happening?
It's the only rankings
I
watch.
I actually did look at it brief, and I was like, some of this makes sense. It's kind of weird.
It's tough to do apples to apples on some of those, right? Because like let's call it even the Rocky Mountain or any of the PPAs, right? Like if it's not a major PPA, it's weighted the same as say the New Jersey Open.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And those draws are not equal by any means.
Yeah, so it's just this weighting of stuff is a little funky. So the tournaments are obviously going to be a little bit skewed on the ranking results. But the point is, I kind of like the idea in general just because it's a better process than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
Before, it used to be so subjective. Back in the OG days when you weren't even playing, it was just like, oh, yeah, they can register. Like, it was literally like the directors being like, oh, yeah, that person's good. Just let them in.
Well, it felt like that till last year, right? Because
there's
no we were
real
talking about this
process.
early in the year. It's like, or on earlier podcasts, there's just no rhyme or reason on how a pro qualifies. I would ask many people, I'm like, hey, would I qualify for nationals? They're like, I don't know, maybe. What do you mean?
There is no way.
Well, there's no way I can go. I'm not going to go play, the Mid-South Regional and play 5-0 and try to qualify for the pro event. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, so there's really no way for pros to qualify until now. So props. Who did that? USA Pickleball?
I guess.
Yeah, and probably in conjunction with pickleballtournaments.com for
Pickleball Central. Pickleball Central does a good job on a lot of stuff.
Pickleball Central, yeah. So, hey, now you know if you qualify.
Mm-hmm.
That's a start.
Okay. Everything else in our news and events, I have very little concept of. It's all your stuff.
I don't even know what's on there.
Painted Pickle, APP Stipend.
Oh, right on. So Painted Pickle. Well, we can do this in conjunction with Electric Pickle, which we've talked about. Electric Pickle is coming to Austin. I think they're going to have maybe in 2022. It's a very similar concept to Chicken and Pickle, I think. So it just appears to be more, kind of more indoor-outdoor food, beverage, bar, pickleball, top golf-like concept. So it's popping. I think companies are starting to see, or hospitality groups are starting to see the success Chicken and Pickle have had, and they're looking to build on that. So we've got the Electric Pickle in Austin. There's also an Electric Pickle coming to Vegas. I'm not sure if it's owned by the same hospitality group or if they're different owners. If they're different owners, they should probably talk about the name because they're using the same name. So it has to be the same.
Yeah, it is.
I would imagine.
Same guys.
So anyways, you also have Painted Hospitality Group, which has, I think, Painted Pens, which is a bowling concept. They're doing the Painted Pickle, and this is going to be in Atlanta. So yeah, they have the Painted Pen, the Painted Duck, and upcoming Painted Park, which will be, it's a one-of-a-kind eatertainment concept. I like what they did there, eatertainment. Called the Painted Pickle. It'll be centered around pickleball, and it's going to be Atlanta's premier pickleball destination, located in town in a versatile indoor-outdoor industrial warehouse space with high-quality food and beverage offerings, deluxe design, and amenities.
I like the word deluxe. Or premium. It just conveys good things.
And luxury.
All right. Well, that's cool. More
so
cool facilities.
generally speaking, the food and beverage paired with the pickleball concepts continuing to take off.
It's very successful.
Yeah, it's working.
It's just a great model. I mean, like I was actually comparing it to Topgolf. So the reason Topgolf does so well, in my opinion, is not because golf is actually suited for something like that.
Yeah.
It's really not as much as some other sports, in my opinion. It's just that golf is so mainstream and it's more suited than some other games. Like, say, obviously you can do like baseball or basketball. Like, it's just in soccer, like a team sports with that many people, they're just not feasible.
Yeah.
Golf works because it's like a one-person thing where you can just hit some balls while you're hanging out with your friends and drinking and eating. So it works. Whereas you look at something like pickleball, yeah, it takes up a little more room, but think of like the same concept where you're like renting out a court rather than renting out like a driving range, mat or whatever. You got your little area. And it's more fun because you got your food and drink still, but you're also playing with each other. And what's funny about Topgolf is it's very appealing because anyone can try to hit a golf ball. You might not do well with it, but you're just hitting it in a driving range. There's no real huge goal or anything. And pickleball is similar in that you can just kind of pick up a paddle and whack the ball around. You don't even have to play points if you don't want. You can just whack it back and forth, and you can have a ball.
Yep.
So I think it's actually pickleball is very suited for something like Topgolf, maybe even more than golf is, with the caveat that obviously pickleball is not as well known or as followed as golf is.
True. And it's a good point because like when you there's a spot here in Austin called Bolden Acres, which they didn't even mean to build pickleball courts, but like some city zoning thing, they had to put some kind of concrete slab there for whatever zoning purpose. And they're like, well, what can we put that's this size? And they decided on 2 pickleball courts, not even really knowing what it was or thinking that it would be very successful is my understanding of how it all came about. And it was mainly going to just be like a indoor-outdoor cornhole food and beverage spot, bar with some food trucks type deal. And then people just started gravitating to the pickleball courts, and it became a thing. And now you have to reserve them, and now they're making money off of it, and they didn't realize that was even going to be a revenue stream. So they kind of lucked into it, or made some good decisions.
Sounds like classic pickleball. People got lucky because they found it.
yeah, pretty much. So, anyways, the concept works, and it's exciting to see more and more of that stuff popping up.
APP Stipend. Tell me about this. I haven't really heard about it.
Yeah, so I don't really know much, right? So, as we know, the PPA will sign players on to play their events, and they'll get appearance fees. I think the APP currently is doing something similar, but they're not making you – they're basically saying, hey, if you're in the top 7 of these cumulative standings, including singles, men's and mixed, or women's and mixed, then we'll cover your entry fees and we'll give you a $250 travel stipend. So that was their plan for this year. Apparently, come October 25th, they're going to announce a new player stipend, also a referee stipend, which is awesome for the refs, right?
Yeah.
Like, they need it. And, yeah.
Said it once and I'll say it again. Their job is very difficult, and I don't understand why they do it, but we all thank you for it, or at least I do.
I'll tell you why they do it, because it's just like for the players. They have an amazing social aspect. They're all friends. They get to travel around the country and be a part of a sport that's awesome. So I think that's why they do it.
It's still a pretty thankless job.
It's a very thankless job, and it's like one of those things. It's like you don't really notice. It's like on people that leave reviews on restaurants, right? It's like you only leave a review if you have a bad experience. These refs only ever get noticed if they do something, that's not correct or they make a wrong call. They don't really get noticed for the hundreds of matches that they do very, very well. So it's tough, and it's cool that they're getting more stipends. So my issue with I say an issue just because as a player, it makes it tough because, as you know, we make our schedules very far in advance. You probably know every tournament you're playing in 2022 already.
I do.
And you likely know every partner you're going to have for those tournaments, right? And we're in August right now.
And I knew that as far back as like March.
Right. So for players that schedule that far in advance, and you have to because, partners are at a premium and you have to lock people in and you have to lock tournaments in and there's kind of this mad scramble to do that. And October 25th, honestly, is just too late for some players that are trying to decide what tournaments to play next year. It's too late in the year to be able to wait and
especially for the mid-ground players who are like, hey, do I sign PPA? Do I
right.
try to play APPs and PPAs? Like, what's the play, basically?
Yeah, so that's exactly the spot I'm in. I'm trying to
And
figure
then you
out
got
what's
partners
best.
that are signing PPA, and they're like, well, I can't play APP. And you're like, oh, no, yeah. It's
Exactly.
like, it's a real...
So I've got
a real
partners lined
cluster
up for
something.
both some PPAs and some APPs, and my partners that I'm signed up for are like, are you sure you're going to be good for these? And I'm like, I think so. Just bear with me. And now I have to say kind of like wait till October 25th, which is so far down the road. It's only a couple months, but it's in pickleball.
That's a long time.
In pickleball world, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So unfortunate that they're waiting that long, because I think players are going to have to make decisions before that.
Well, what's the delay?
I don't. That's a good question.
Make a decision and announce it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would benefit the APP Tour, definitely more if they announced it earlier, because then
They'd more players.
They'd have more players for sure. Because I know a handful of players that are going to have to decide before then, if not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's the APP stipend. Again, props to the refs, because that's going to be great for them. We got next.
We're on to results, our least favorite section.
Yeah.
We have Jersey, Denver, and TOC.
Jersey, Denver. Oh, I feel like I need a...
Do you just want to talk about your Jersey experience?
I feel like I need a beer. Coffee's not going to cut it.
Oh, boy.
Maybe I'll have a sip of the shake. So I went straight to Jersey from Newport. Right? Was it Newport?
Yeah.
It was all a blur these few weeks. But straight from Jersey to Newport. Was it Newport?
Yes.
Not St. Clemente. It was Newport. Okay. Anyways.
Really is a blur to you.
Jersey played with Eden Lika. First time playing with him. I liked playing with him. He's just very comfortable on the right. I've played left all year, so that's where I'm most comfortable right now. And yeah, we ran straight through to the gold match. Then ran out of gas a little bit in the gold, and so it's interesting because basically that day of, I think men's was Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
There's singles Sunday, which I was not playing, but men's Saturday. So I was like, Lauren Stratman had told me that she was going to go to. She's going to fly to Denver Saturday night to play women's on Sunday. I'm like, oh, they have women's and men's on Sunday? I was like, because she was going to play with Leia in Denver, and I was like, Kohler told me he doesn't have a partner for Rocky Mountain.
Could work out nicely.
So maybe I could try to get there. So then I was looking at flights, and they're all outrageously expensive. And then I even booked one that was like leaving at 8:45. Oh, this is such a bad story. I lost so much money on this. I don't even want to tell the story. It makes me hurt. It makes my heart hurt. But anyways, it was a $400 one-way ticket to Denver, which I wish I would have gotten that one. Let's just say that. Actually, I did get it. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I've got points for this. Let me book points. So I canceled the $400 one. Tried to get the points flight. After I canceled, I refreshed the points one. The points went from like, they doubled basically. And I was like, I'm not paying all those points. I'm not paying double points for something that was 5 seconds ago, this amount of points. So then I was like, screw it. Now I don't have a flight. And then I was like, maybe I just won't go. And then I found another flight out of Philadelphia. That one was for Newark. So I was like, Philadelphia, the same flight that Lauren Stratman was on, Philadelphia direct to Denver on Frontier. Don't want to fly Frontier, but I will. And it was cheaper. It was like $250. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then play. You know, to get on that flight, I need to leave by like 6 p.m. from the venue in Hamilton, New Jersey, to make it to Philadelphia in time to make that flight. And I'm rooming with Goldberg this weekend, so he knows I'm trying to do this. He's like trying to support me with it. Why is Ryan Sherry calling me right now? That's never a good thing. Or it could be.
Sometimes it is.
You just never know. So Ryan Sherry. Anyways, so Goldberg knew that I was going to try to do this, and he was trying to support me. He was like, oh, what about this flight? Oh, all this stuff. And he's being very kind. And like we were having a blast the whole weekend. And then, so we're in the gold match. Ed and I were waiting on the bronze to finish. And JW and Johnny pull it out, I think, in the third game, pretty tight third game with Althoff and Zane. And then, even after as he walked off the court in the bronze match, he was like, "Oh, sorry that took so long, man. We'll try to get after it." I was like, "All good, no rush, you're fine." And my mindset at this point was, I'm probably not going to make this flight. It's okay. I'm just going to play and focus on the match. So that was kind of the mindset I had. And I was like, if I make it, great. If not, whatever. But anyway, so Byron and the crew, Ken at the APP, were super accommodating. They were like, well, let's move the gold match right after the bronze match, men's bronze, just so you can play and we can try to get you out of here on time. So that was super cool of them. And I think they gave Goldberg and J-Dub, I don't remember the exact time between matches, 15 to 30. I don't really know what it was.
Regulations 30. 15.
Sure. So they at least gave him whatever that was, and maybe wasn't enough. It was super hot, that's for sure. So maybe it warranted more. But either way, Johnny wasn't very happy with it. So he comes back on court for the gold match where we start playing. He's the last one on court. We had already all warmed up and, Andy was our ref, Andy Jones. And she was ready to call the score, and then Johnny's just taking his time, wants to warm up. So now I see, okay, maybe he's claiming he's cramping and his stomach hurts and all this stuff, but it seemed to me that he was really taking his time kind of intentionally. And you can see he's just in a bad mood at the start of the match. I think it gets to 4-3, and then he basically says, "My stomach hurts, medical timeout," walks off the court, and as he's walking off the court, he goes, "F your flight, Rob." So I was just like, okay. And I was quite confused on a few different reasons. One, he didn't really ask to have a medical timeout. He just said, "I'm taking a medical timeout. My stomach hurts," and walked off the court and was gone. So he didn't really he didn't get confirmation from Andy, the ref, that he's allowed to actually take a medical timeout. He just literally walked off the court and walked to the tent somewhere.
Huh.
So that was one thing. And then I was asking Andy, I was like, well, can he actually just walk off the court like that? And she's like, I've never dealt with this before. We'll get Byron over here. And then it took Byron, I think, 7-8 minutes to find his way over to the court. And whatever. They granted the medical timeout. And the interesting thing was, I've only had 2 medical timeouts ever called during matches I've been playing in. One was the day before in the mixed bronze match against Sarah Ansbury and Rafa Hewitt. Sarah called one at 10-10. We had just gotten a side out. We were serving at 10-10-1 in the third game.
Mm-hmm.
So very tight moment. So she called a timeout, and part of me understands that because while we were, the match is 2 points from being over, right? So on one hand, questionable there, but on the other hand, mixed day was insanely hot. It had to be 110 plus on court. There's a heat advisory, New Jersey. It was the hottest it'd been all year, so it was actually a thing. The ball was mush. All of our points were going 50 plus, 50 plus rallies. It was brutal. You could not put a ball away. So I understand that. So she, went to the trash can, was trying to throw up, dry heave, et cetera, et cetera. I get it. And then the next day, Goldberg does it at 4-3 in the first game of a gold medal match. Only 2 medical timeouts I've ever seen in matches that I've been a part of. I've never called one. So, and both of them were basically because their stomachs hurt, is what I think both of them said. Sarah said her stomach hurts, she had to throw up. Then Goldberg at 4-3 said his stomach hurts, F your flight, Rob, as he walked off the court. So, that's New Jersey.
Good story, Robert.
Do you have thoughts on that?
It sounds like you had a fun time.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was a blast. So you guys can take whatever you want from those stories. I'll just leave it there. Oh yeah, no, let me finish. So because of that 15-minute medical timeout from Goldberg, I do miss my flight out of Philadelphia. And Lauren Stratman was on that flight. Luckily, I'm brilliant and told her, because I had a checked bag because I took podcast equipment with me. So I had her take my bag to Philadelphia just to check it through in case I made it. So I wouldn't have to stop and check because she was able to get to the airport before I was. So she checked my bag through. Because of that medical timeout, I wasn't able to make that flight. I would have just missed it. And there would have been nothing worse of trying to rush to the Philadelphia airport just to miss a flight.
Missing it.
Oh, painful.
Yeah, never done that.
So I was like, screw it, I'll cancel that flight, see if I can get a refund. I was able to get a refund on that $250 flight out of Philadelphia. I was like, you know what? Let's just see if there's anything else available. So I saw that 8:40. There's an 8:45 out of Newark, which gave me basically a 45-minute window. So I was like, I can maybe make that one if I leave right now. So price had doubled from what I had purchased it at before. I was just like, you know what? I'm so mad right now. I just lost to Goldberg and J-Dub. J-Dub played amazing. Right? That's as everybody's starting to see. He's starting to come into his own a little bit and really, really play good pickleball. So he played great. And yeah, so I was so annoyed and mad that I had lost that. That I was just like, I'll pay any amount of money to get out of New Jersey right now, and I did. And I got out of there.
On one hand, I call that Max Payne. On the other, you did get out of there.
I got out of there. And, you know, what was actual Max Payne was the two ladies I had to sit in between on that flight because I hadn't showered all day. There's a heat advisory. I had sweated my balls off, I'll tell you that. And I ran through the airport I had the orange neon Franklin shirt. You know what I'm talking about, like the cotton soft shirt. And that thing was fully drenched by the time I got to the gate. I was the last one on the plane. And these two poor girls, luckily it was an exit row, but they were like, okay, sick. I've got the aisle. She's like, I've got the window. Nobody in the middle seat, thank God. And then I come stumbling onto the plane.
Now that is Max Payne.
In a drenched shirt, smelling disgusting. I have my mask on. I still smell me. And those faces when I just pulled up right beside them, I was like, okay, let me put my bag up there. Both just like, I think they even made eye contact with each other. And I was like, really? Really? This dude's got to sit here?
Oh, that's tough.
I felt bad.
Oh, that's very tough.
And I just sat like this the whole flight. And my back I was doing this because my back kept seizing up. 4.5 hours flight. It's middle seat's tough. Soaked in sweat. Anyways, New Jersey. Oh, and I got to Rocky Mountain and I got there like at midnight. Slept for 3 hours, 4 hours, didn't sleep very well just because so much was going on, you know. And then got up and played Denver with Kohler.
This is dedicated. That's a pro pickleballer's life right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to say, like, Kohler and I didn't do very well, but I actually thought I played pretty well that day. And, like, all things considered especially. And it was just a lot of fun playing, you know, a gold medal match in New Jersey on Saturday night, then playing a completely different tournament across the country Sunday morning.
Awesome. I've never done that.
It was super fun.
Well, you know, I'd like to talk about other results, but not really, because results, meh.
Nah, but people want to know. Like, people, I know you don't want to talk about it, but it's...
no, actually, I'm just, it's not because of TOC. It's more just like,
I know.
That was a long story about one result.
Should we edit that whole thing out? Because that was painful to actually tell. It wasn't very fun for me to tell. 1, because I lost. 2, because Goldberg was annoying. And 3, it just felt very long-winded.
Huh.
It was bad. Even Lucy's sleeping. She's like, Jesus, on to the next topic. Anyways.
All right.
But no, talk to us about singles.
Sure.
The people need to hear. They need to, because
I'd like to give a shout out to Todd. I won Denver, and the dink said nobody won. Nobody got more than 8 points against me. And I said false. First game of my first match in singles, this guy named Todd got 11 points. I won 13-11. So
was
good.
Todd legit?
He was legit. Good job, Todd.
Was it his first tournament or one of his first?
I don't know actually.
But you didn't know the name.
No.
Attaboy, Todd.
Yeah, he was good. TOC. Yeah, I lost singles.
What happened? I know it's not fun, but hey, tennis after losses, you have to go into the press room.
I love it. I love it when they go into the press room and they're just so clearly wanting to talk, and they just do not answer questions well at all, and they're just so mad.
But some of the questions they get are so bad.
They're really just stupid questions.
They're like, so is this the end of your career? That loss must have really hurt. How much did it actually hurt?
Like, what do you want? A scale of 1 to 10, or how do you want to do this?
No, that's why you see some like snarky answers from players, because the questions are sometimes so stupid. Yeah. Andy Roddick was one of my favorites. Like, he used to get after it. Daniil Medvedev is also very good.
Yeah. Oh, he's great.
But anyway, so obviously,
yeah. Long story short, we went to an indoor facility. When you play indoors, the ball goes faster, and generally people hit it cleaner. So yeah, you're just able to get more points more quickly. So I think that definitely helped my two opponents just pass me more easily and get more points. It's more of a slugfest in that kind of situation, and that's what happened. They both played well, and they won.
It's a very politically correct answer. Well done. It's like you've been trained for this. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll give my boy J-Dub some props because he had a great result at TOC. I think he medaled in 2 events and got fourth in the
first,
other.
third, and fourth.
I mean,
It's very good.
Attaboy.
Especially in that mixed field.
Yeah, 100%.
You almost took him down.
I told him I deserve half of his medal.
Yeah, you were up 14-10. That's brutal.
13-7, 14-10. I just wanted him to have his moment. You know,
awfully benevolent of you.
Thank you.
Upcoming, we got Orlando. Not going to say too much about it. My only thing is that Tennis Channel is supposed to cover this one live, which I think is maybe more huge even than Fox Sports. I think that's amazing.
I think it is bigger, yeah.
So we're all looking forward to that, and it's at the USTA National Facility, so it should be awesome.
Because most players are going to be coming from tennis rather than anything else. So to be able to tap into the tennis crowd,
a lot better exposure to the tennis world than the world at large.
Totally. I have Chicago APP next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend with Cassidy and Esquivel.
Back to Naperville?
That should be no.
Different.
No Naperville this year. It's somewhere else, but it's also a local park.
Oh, okay. Nice.
As are most APPs.
Good for you.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay. Moving on. Oh, you mean freestyle. Freestyle segment. I'm in Austin again. I finally got a free week after a whole tournament spree before school starts next Monday. So I decided to go to Austin to see my favorite band, Fleetwood Mac, cover band on Saturday. Also, of course, just to hang out with you, Robert.
I thought you were going to say to see your favorite person. You really threw me for a loop there. See your favorite band.
As it goes without saying.
That would be a fun concert Saturday.
Should be, yeah. At Dreamland. Dreamland concert venue is amazing. If you haven't been to Austin yet, you haven't been to Dreamland yet, you should be.
It is cool. I don't know if you were there for we saw Bob Schneider, who, if you don't know Bob Schneider, really, really good, just singer-songwriter out of Austin. It was random. I posted like a story on Instagram of us being at that concert, me, Jack. We were with Steve Kuhn and Brooks Wiley and some other people, and Drake Bernstein. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Drake. He was like, "Oh, dude, Bob Schneider's amazing." I'm like, it was the first time I'd ever heard of him. I thought it was just a local guy in Austin. I was like, "How have you heard of this guy?" He's like, "I know everybody that's good." It's like, okay, Drake.
Interesting.
That was a weird flex. But no, Drake was funny. He was in when we were in Newport. He was down in San Diego for, I think, girls hard courts 18s, which is always at Barnes Tennis Center, I believe. And he's doing his recruiting, and he was just fiending to play. He was like, "Guys, I'll come up to Newport. Let's just, I'll be there 8 p.m. Everybody's like, "We play mixed tomorrow. We're not going to play at 8 p.m." And then he was like, then I was like flying out of San Diego like one morning, and he was like, "Hey, we're playing at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. You can make it. Then you can shower at my place." Oh, he's just like itching for it. His job's so demanding as the assistant women's coach at associate head coach, at UGA. For the women's team, but he just wants to play so badly. It's awesome. It's a shame he can't play more.
Oh yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about Denver. So Denver was one of my favorite tournaments, even though it was kind of a smaller one. The venue was nice, but not like as nice as some of the other ones we've been to. What I really appreciate about any venue is being in a place where you can walk to stuff.
100%.
I don't like driving, so I stayed in one of the hotels closest to it. Everything was walkable. I could go to food every night. I didn't drive one night to get food. I didn't drive for lunch. I could walk to my smoothie place during the tournament day. I could walk to the venue. And that, above all, is like my favorite thing. It was awesome.
Cherry Creek area in Denver,
and
really
it was
nice.
Super cute, super clean.
Yeah.
It was like a Denver feel, but not trashy or anything. So that was awesome. I'd definitely go back there. For your local restaurant recommendation, I stayed at the Hotel de Jacquard, and right across from it, there was this, literally right across the street. You walk across one street, and it's there. There's this Japanese restaurant where they had something very unique, and I'm all about experiences. So we go in there. I went with Jack. And they have those, I don't know what you call them, the sliding wooden Japanese doors with like that white paper. They're like, oh, okay. They're just Japanese sliding doors, basically.
Okay.
And instead of like a normal table, you have this sunken down table where you basically sit on a pillow on the ground.
Yeah.
And the table's sunken in so that like your feet go into the ground. and you're basically at floor level, and the waiter like comes and serves you on the ground.
I
And
like
that was
that.
one of my favorite things ever. I'm like, I'm so low right now. It's awesome.
I'm so
I felt
low.
I felt so cozy, and it was super authentic Japanese food. So that was my favorite place. I don't remember the name, but I could easily find it again. It's across the street from the Chicago. Experiences. Loved it.
Yeah.
Freestyle of the month.
Well, actually, one quick thing on
Okay.
just Japanese stuff.
Yeah. I love Japanese stuff.
So
It's my favorite culture.
whenever people ask me like, okay, we know you don't want a tattoo, but if you were to get a tattoo, what would you get? I'm like, it's a non-negotiable. I will never get a tattoo, and I think this isn't actually true anymore. But in Japan, they have kind of hot springs. They're like natural pools.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but onsen, ONSEN, is the English spelling of it. But it's just like basically natural hot springs in Japan. And they have them all over the place. Even hotels have them. And you're supposed to go into them nude. But I don't know. This might just be the traditional aspect of it. But if you have a tattoo, you're not allowed to get in the onsen.
Oh.
For purity reasons, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't know the whole history behind it. But anyways, so that's my reasoning for never getting a tattoo.
Can't go in the onsen.
Can't go in the onsen. Everyone wants to go in the onsen.
Damn, so who like inspects you?
Exactly. Exactly.
And where all do you want to inspect to make sure I don't have one, huh?
Hey, it's a question I don't want to find out.
Exactly.
Do not inspect me.
We're not even risking it. All right, freestyle of the month. So last episode we did was in Newport on the 9th, and we did it right before our flight. So Rob had a flight to New Jersey, I had a flight to Denver, and Jack had a flight back to Austin because she didn't want to go to New Jersey. And basically, I was like, Jack, do you want to just come to Denver? Like, you're not going to do anything in Austin. You should just come to Denver. And even, Robert's not going to be there, but you could have fun in Denver. It's a cute town. And obviously, you're not going to watch pickleball, but you could do whatever. And you could, stay with Hannah or whatever. And 10 minutes before we have to leave, she's like, okay. Because I had the idea earlier in the week, but I was like, she's never going to say yes if I ask her now. But if I ask her 10 minutes before we have to leave, then it's a yes.
Yeah.
That's just how she works. So, that was the freestyle of the month. She chose to go to Denver, canceled her flight to Austin, and came to Denver for the whole week instead.
I was close to doing the same. I was like, I don't really want to go to New Jersey either. I don't want to fly all the way across the country.
But you didn't bail on partners, so that's good.
Principled.
You can't bail on stuff.
Cannot. Well, not on partners. You can bail on plenty of stuff, just not partners. The day before you're supposed to play.
That's so TOC in general. That's also on the list.
My first TOC.
Yes. So basically, it's a very interesting tournament because it's one of the OG tournaments that's been going on since 2012. It was one of the biggest for quite a long time, all the way up through like 2018, 2019. It was in like the top 3 tournaments basically. And that was mostly due to the prize money. All the pros were there, all that. And it's been a great tournament for years. What I would say is it right now, with everything that's been going on with PPA, PP, all that, it just looks antiquated, much like the U.S. Open kind of looked antiquated this year, which we had many rants about. It's just that, the location is very out of the way. There's not a ton to do in Brigham City. And it's really just much like you were saying before. It's basically a park with a lot of courts and like some public bathrooms, and that's about it. There's no crazy beautiful stadium, and there's not really much around there. I do have to say, so Kyle Klein always runs it. He's a fantastic director, always does a great job with pretty much everything. He's directed nationals before, and he does a fantastic job. Unfortunately, it just kind of looks antiquated now in some ways, like the location and the facilities. Also, which it was kind of strange, is the prize money, as far as I know, I mean, they are on a tiered system, so based on the number of entrants, the prize money changes. But even if it had reached the maximum number of entrants, I'm pretty sure the prize money went down since 2019, which is kind of strange to me. And it's also city-owned now, which I don't really know how that works, where you're city-owned and suddenly you have less prize money.
You were showing me the payouts, and yeah, I was shocked it was so low for first place.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, this is one of the tournaments that's considered one of the 3 majors in the sport.
And did you say the senior money was the same as the pro money?
I actually don't know. I thought it was, but I can't confirm that.
Yeah.
And really what's interesting about pickleball just in general is that, all of our conceptions about pickleball, like what's a major, or what's this or what's that, it's all just kind of driven by the public and what they think. there's no official anything. Like there's official 4 Grand Slams in tennis. That's not official in pickleball by any means. Like people consider the 3 majors, U.S. Open, Nationals, TOC, and I'm kind of like, so when does that change? Like, what if next year most of the pros don't show up to TOC, which is a possibility, just with a lot of other options where they have more money. Like the money was approximately equivalent to Denver, which is one of the lower tiers of the PPA. So it's like if you get outclassed both on your location and your money, you don't give players much impetus to come. So say you lose like half your top pro players. Will people still consider it a major? I have no idea. Should it even be? Well, I don't know.
Well, like, I get the kind of the history of it, but there's nothing that said major tournament to me. Mm-hmm. Like just experiencing it for the first time when I had experienced other tournaments. Even to this day, maybe it was just because it was my first experience in pickleball. Playing the 2020 Mesa tournament in Arizona. Mm-hmm. That was that the first PPA ever?
Yep.
So that's kind of cool for me coming into the sport. First pro tournament is a brand new pro tour. I didn't know that was the first tournament at the time. I thought this is like how every tournament is.
Right.
But it was so sick because you had the big bleachers, so they were packed with people. I was like,
honestly,
this is
the
sick.
first PPA event was fantastic just because the crowd was so into it.
Yep.
The stadium was always full, and they were rowdy. It was one of the best tournaments I played.
That's one of the things I actually wrote on in a post today about the cost of pro pickleball was that we're starting to see, one thing that APP does pretty well is they hit different locations pretty well, right? So it allows the community, not that all these communities do this, but it allows the community to kind of rally around local pickleball and really make an event their own.
Yeah.
But when you have multiple events in the same city in the same year, it kind of reduces the special effect of it, right?
For sure.
Like we have there's 3 Vegas tournaments in Vegas. There's 3 tournaments in Vegas over the next 2 months.
Yeah.
So it really makes it hard for.
Yeah, I think for next year the plaza's getting cut from the PPA at least.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So I think one pro tournament in each city just really allows the community to kind of get behind it and make it a very special event for the players and the fans in the community.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see less tournaments in one spot throughout the year.
Although we've talked about this issue a number of times, the women's singles draw at TOC was, yikes. It was 4
small.
Players.
Yeah, it's a little small, but it's
4 players.
It's a major.
Sheesh. I don't even really know what to say, honestly. The guys had 31.
Yeah, it's slightly different.
Yeah, I don't what I thought about this morning is it's so difficult just because one, that's happening, but 2, when you have all 4 players being 4 of the top players, it was Michelle, Annalie, Callie, and Irina.
Yeah.
How do you look at that draw as a woman outside of say the top 10 and be like, oh yeah, I should sign up? It's like, well, yeah, I'm probably gonna go 0-2. On one hand, yeah, it's nice to try and all, but on the other hand, you're like, I'm not even gonna have a warm up match. I'm just gonna get obliterated.
And I'm gonna pay $120 for the event.
Yeah, that's tough. So it's almost like if there were more women, more women would sign up. But you need more women to sign up in the first place for that to happen. So,
well, one way I'd sign up is if they paid top 5. And then you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Or at least,
that's pretty funny.
Well, it would need to be more than the entry fee. But yeah, it's crazy. I think you were telling me, I don't know, again, I don't know payouts and all that stuff for TOC, but you were saying it was tiered based on how many people entered the tournament, how big the draw size was. Do we know what women's singles got paid out?
I don't actually.
Okay. Because I think the sheet you showed me it started at 8 players, right? It's 8 to 16 or is this?
Yeah. The payout that I looked at started at 8 players.
Yeah, so if you guys don't quite understand what we're saying here is
8 to 15 had a certain payout, 16 to 24 had a certain payout, and then up to 31 had a different payout.
Meaning
and
draw
beyond
size.
32 players had a payout.
So if you had a draw size of 32 plus players for that event, it's going to pay out the max amount.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that.
Yeah, no, the tiered system is cool for sure.
But you shouldn't start it at 8 because, a lot of the women's draws don't get to 8 players.
Rough.
Yeah. It's actually it's a big issue. We're making light of it, but
How do you take a sport seriously when you don't have a women's division, basically?
Yeah, it's really got to grow. And I know singles is interesting. Women go through phases of wanting to play and not wanting to play, and I don't know what it's about. I know it's tough out there and it's competitive and it's stressful.
Yeah. And often I've heard the argument that singles is often first, and if it's more on the weekdays, it makes it more difficult for people to play. And I'm like, well, you just got 4 players for a major on a Saturday.
Yeah.
There's clearly other issues.
There's an issue, yeah. Don't know what it is.
Well, enough on that. It's time for Jackisms.
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Let me pull this up. What do we have this week? These are always fun.
How about don't argue me?
Don't argue me. I mean, there's not
There's not really a specific story.
I don't think there's a
attached to it.
specific story attached to it, but we'll just give it to you.
I think the main story is that when Jack gets frustrated enough or angry enough, or basically just in a rushed situation, her English kind of
goes out the window.
Yeah,
which is strange because English is her first language.
Well, when you start to say stuff quickly, sometimes it doesn't come out exactly as you want it.
Oh yeah.
But
no. Actually, it goes back quite a while. I don't remember the specific moment, but there's another one she used to say. She used to say, "Look it,
look it,
look it,
look it."
I'm like, look at it? Like, what do you mean, look it? But then I started hearing other people say, look it. I'm like, am I the wrong one here? Like, is she right? Is it actually look it? So she would always say, look it, look it. I'm like, how old are we? Like, what do you mean, look it?
It makes sense to look it.
Yeah, look it. But it's along the same vein of don't argue me. It's like we'll be talking about something and we won't even be arguing. I'll just like I'll offer a differing opinion. And then she just like looks at me with a blank face for a while, and then just says, "Don't argue me."
Don't argue with me. Not anything like that. Just don't argue me.
Don't argue.
I don't want to hear it. Don't argue me.
I'm like, okay.
That'll shut down an argument.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue you. So Jackism of the episode. Don't argue me.
Okay, it's time for hot takes.
Don't argue me would actually be a good shirt. It's short to the point.
Oh yeah, I have a list of the Jackisms, and we're gonna put multiple of them on shirts.
Don't argue me. Look it. It's a good one too.
Look it.
Just short.
Okay, my first hot take is that all flour-based products should have more egg in them and less flour when baking.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the point we talked about the other day is pancakes.
Yeah, so
protein pancakes are amazing.
Protein pancakes, German pancakes. So basically you use a lot more egg and a lot less flour. And it's like the pancakes we normally eat in the U.S. are just like so dense and floury. It's like, ugh, how can you eat more than one and be like, ugh, I'm feeling like I need to go take a nap now. What was that?
It was very weird. I was posting an Instagram story showing our podcast. You got to promote this thing.
Nice.
And and then something came up.
Eggs are healthier. Flour's not healthy.
Correct.
And it tastes better too.
Tastes much better.
I have a good German pancake recipe.
Less
that's
filling,
delicious.
honestly.
Yeah, it's lighter.
Yeah, you don't want to finish eating pancakes and be just overly stuffed and full. No. You want to feel like you're ready to attack the day.
Heck yeah. Egg-based products.
Egg-based.
Oh, let's talk about this. Fans should have etiquette.
I like talking about this.
Well, first, I'd say it's not so much on the fans as the venue. And I'd say back to TOC just briefly, and the PPA does a good job of this, is they always have an area for the players where it's supposed to just be for the players. Some fans still find a way to get there. But they basically, have a removed area where the pros have some peace. And it's not like we can't sign autographs or take pictures and all that. It's just that at certain times it can be very exhausting. Maybe you're about to go on. Maybe you're just coming off. Maybe you're eating, preparing. Somehow, there's a lot of stuff you got to do during the day where you don't necessarily have time to take pictures and autographs and do that kind of stuff. So if you have an area, then it's nice because you have that time, and whenever you kind of go out, then you'll be asked. But you can stay in there for the most part, and the PPA's done a great job with that, especially this year. But like TOC, for instance, was not like that. And what's interesting about TOC is it's long been thought to be more of a players' tournament because originally it was just pros. There weren't even amateur divisions. So the pros kind of found it cool because you could relax and just see each other, and that was it. That's not true anymore. And it's not true at a lot of tournaments where, you got a lot of amateurs and they become more fanatical about pros to where, you're getting asked for pictures and autographs like a lot.
I'm sorry about that. Like, I know at TSC, people kept coming up to me asking for my autograph, and I kept sending them to you. I won't do that anymore. I'll just sign it myself.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, it's basically just I feel like tournaments should have an area, just
Private players area.
yeah,
Simple.
It's simple enough. And
Are we
it's
talking
like
about?
tennis.
Are we talking about tournaments? I got a couple things I can say.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that's a key point. One that I keep bringing up over and over is I'll be watching a center court match and I'll be like,
Oh, score.
"What's the score?" Everybody quiet. I'm trying to hear the ref, and then the ref says it not loud enough. I'm like, "Oh, anybody know the score?"
Get it next time.
Everybody quiet again. What's the score? So scoreboards. The only tournament I've seen do it, and maybe Nationals does it, I don't know, but the APP at Delray, and that was just because the stadium court
US
had
Open
it.
did it. Delray did it.
Yeah,
and
US
Nationals
Open
does
did it.
it.
That's such a small
It's a
thing.
basic. I'll text Connor today.
Just such a small thing. Buy a little scoreboard, even one. Two would be great if you have one on each end.
Yeah.
But that's easy to transport. It's digital, and it just helps so much. It makes the fans experience so much better, and the players, so you don't have to constantly listen.
That's a good point, Robert. You're a man with ideas, and I like it.
Can I talk about something else?
Sure.
Thank you. So New Jersey Open. We played with a normal Duraball on mixed day, which was a Friday, and then I get to the venue Saturday morning. I get to the public park Saturday morning, and I look around, and the matches on court are playing with a neon ball. I'm like, did we just go to the X40? Because I'm here for that if we did. But no, they didn't. They went to
The Neon Dura.
They went to the Neon Dura, which actually probably plays more different than the regular Dura versus the X40.
Guys, let me tell you something. When you change the color of a ball, it will play different. And there is a reason that we do not use the Neon Dura in most tournaments. All right? So obviously you can see neon better. That is the most visible ball. But no pro tournament uses the neon ball since 2017 Canadian Nationals for a reason. When they put that neon in it, it made it much more malleable, so it gets deformed a lot quicker, and it feels different off the paddle. It feels softer. It just has a more of a range of variability from how it performs cold to how it performs hot. It's not nearly as good of a ball. And when you change it, it's drastically different. People can say it's called the same ball. It should be the same ball. And while that's true, it's simply not. So don't go using the Neon Dura, and definitely do not switch from a yellow Dura to a Neon Dura.
Well, yeah, I don't like I've said this before. I don't really care what ball we play with, as long as I have time to prepare for that ball.
Yeah.
If there's a tournament that's labeled as New Jersey Open, we're playing, and they announce we're playing with the Neon Dura, great. I can actually practice with that, the few days leading up to it and be ready for it when the tournament comes. No problem. But just to like randomly switch balls from one day to the next is just really, really strange and not something that should happen at the pro level.
No. Yeah, it's not good.
So, there's that. What else we have on the list?
Well, back to my original comment, which is fans should have some etiquette.
Yeah.
Maybe don't crowd players or bother them continuously if they look like they're clearly doing something. That seems like a basic. I know you want your picture, your autograph, but maybe just wait till they're done eating or something. I don't know.
So on that point, Ben, when would be because people obviously want to get your autograph, they want to get a picture with you. Mm-hmm. When would be the appropriate time for a fan to request that?
If I'm looking like I'm sitting down and I'm not doing anything, maybe I'm not wrapping my paddle, I'm not, I'm just sitting there. Maybe I'm on my phone. That's fine. No problem. If I'm standing or walking around, but I'm not going to play, like I don't have my bag over my shoulder, fine, no problem. I don't even really have a problem with it if you're just, you're going to ask, or you're not always going to be a perfect fan. You're there for, you want a picture, an autograph, whatever. I mean, it's fine. It's going to happen where it's inopportune for me, and that's just part of the deal. That's fine. I'm just saying, in general, maybe be a little conscientious of it, and that would be nice.
For sure. And pickleball's a little different. Like you don't see this in other sports where the players are, mixed in with the
crowd.
With the crowd, yeah. So a little different. I think some of the pro tournaments can do a little bit of a better job in terms of just giving you privacy areas.
Yep. I think that'll get there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just a brief note on that. Back to service rules, Robert. You wanna talk
Yeah.
about servicing?
I don't know. It's just a big topic on Facebook. We don't actually have to talk about it.
We talked about it a little bit. I mean, I can reiterate what I said before on last episode. I think the gist is that, people are still talking about the spin serve, whether it should be legal or not, and the USAPA is considering implementing a rule where you can't use your paddle hand to impart spin on the ball. You can only use the hand that you start, your left hand basically if you're a righty player. And while I get the intention of this, it's like it can still be good. Morgan has the best serve in the game, and he only
Doesn't
uses
use
his left hand.
Yeah, correct.
So I think the point is that it can still be abused, and whether or not it should be abused or not, I always just come back to something like table tennis, where essentially making the serve better, I don't have a problem with that. But if you ever get to a point in any sport or any game where there's too much guesswork involved, or there's literally just no way to use skills to determine something, it probably shouldn't be happening. So, for instance, in table tennis, there's ways, if you don't toss with an open palm, to completely hide the spin on the ball such that you can't see it on the ball, you can't see it coming off the paddle, and and I can make this kind of comparison because it's very different from tennis. Tennis, the ball is pocketed by the strings, so the spin it starts with doesn't matter nearly as much. Whereas with table tennis, it takes an extreme of pickleball, which is, it's a flat surface. It's a much more grippy surface, but it's a flat surface, so the mechanics work very similarly. But you can impart spin on the ball with the toss and then do stuff with the paddle where it shows one thing and a different thing will happen, and you really have no way to actually determine what is going on. And that's not true if you toss with an open palm. If you toss with an open palm, whatever the paddle does is what it's going to do. And they still do a very good job of hiding it with their motion. But the point is, you can't hide the ball behind your body. You can't start it with spin. And that's just to prevent players from making the other player guess. And if you put guesswork into it, it takes the skill out of it. So how would you like to, and take an extreme just because extremes help me, if you have to literally guess, somebody gets good enough at serving where there is no actual physical way to tell what kind of spin is on the ball, and you have to guess right or left. And whenever you guess wrong, you miss 100% of those, and you guess right 50% of the time. That means you're missing 50% of your returns, and you're making 50.
Yeah.
Fun game. Good game, guys.
Well,
let's flip a coin for the point now.
Just to compare, because it was so random, on the flight back from, where did we come from? Salt Lake? We just came from Salt Lake? Yeah. So on the flight back from Salt Lake, it was on Delta, and randomly was watching live TV while doing some work, and I glance up and I see spike ball.
Yeah.
And, it was mixed. It was men with a woman playing another man with a woman, and we saw our buddies Preston, and I saw Ryder, and they were playing, and then I sent that to them, and I even posted on Instagram, and he was like, yeah, it's not, because it was on ESPN too, which I thought was really cool. I had never seen it before, and
they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not real spike ball."
They're like, "Yeah, that's not real." They're like, "That's kind of fake."
Yeah,
kind of staged.
It's very fake.
And then
they stage the points to look interesting.
And then Ryder sent me a clip of the highest level of him. Ryder and Preston are looked at as kind of the top dogs in the sport, definitely top 3 each of them. And the points they showed me it was serve, nothing else.
Yep.
It was whoever can serve the best. And the points were boring, honestly.
Very boring.
They would hit a serve, and then there'd be, the rest would come together almost after every serve to see if it was legal or not, whether it hit the pole or was clean. And that's just not very fun.
And the reason it's bad is because it's either a service winner or it's a double fault. And the reason they double fault so much is because they realize that if they don't get the service winner and if their opponents do get the ball back, the point is over. Because on that third hit, they can hit 360 degrees. Nobody really gets the ball back. There are no rallies. The point is over. And I think the main point is nobody wants to watch a sport where it's not interesting long rallies.
Well, that's why they didn't put the real stuff on ESPN2. Nobody would watch it. It'd be so boring.
Nobody would want to see it.
On ESPN2, they had the mix, and the points were a little longer, and they were doing cool stuff. But it was just, I think it's sad that they had to even do that for spike ball. I think they need to figure out some way to actually make the points longer. And I think that's the beauty of pickleball, honestly, is, you have these really high tension, long points where every point matters quite a lot. And if it just becomes a serve and return game, then might as well be tennis.
And I love evolution of the game. I love things improving. I really want to emphasize that because that's what's very important about the game.
Yeah.
And that's why, paddle technology advancing is great. New shots, and pickleball is the epitome of a sport that advances and has new stuff all the time, and that's awesome. Really, my point is that you don't want the sport to kind of lose its luster, and it could if you kind of prevent rallies. That's one thing that most sports try to have is excitement and points, and taking that out of it with huge serves and not a lot of returns it would be a way to do that. And I think the real point is that you can get a lot better at serving than you can at returning. If you have to guess, there's not really a way to get better at it.
No.
And there are certainly ways to get good enough at serving in order to make it guesswork for your opponent. And that's why they took it out of table tennis. So I think that's the real point. And I'm okay with the serve being very good and better. That's fine. I just don't want guesswork to be in it.
So you don't think they should be able to even use their non-paddle hand to create spin with the ball?
If there's a way to make players guess and there's no feasible way to get better at reading it such that you can know, then no, I don't think it should be legal. And the only way I can actually think, like I haven't really thought about it super deeply, but the only way I know that wouldn't happen is if you have to do it like table tennis, which is tossing with an open palm.
Open palm. Yeah. Okay.
But I think that's enough on the serve. We've
Agreed.
talked about the serve plenty, and that's our opinion. I think that's probably the way it's going to eventually go. Strategy stuff. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys about more strategy being talked about, whether it's at the pro level, like our matches, or just general tips, just random stuff. You kind of liked it when we did that, so we're going to keep talking about some cool stuff.
I like it.
Robert, before we start talking, you started talking about what about mixed with the guy on the right side, like you as a right side player.
Totally. Look, I'm trying to figure out mixed, and it's not going so well. Like, I'm getting some decent wins here and there, but I'm not able to sustain throughout an entire tournament to get on the medal stand, really, at a higher level tournament. So I've been trying to figure out, and part of it for me is I sit backhand a bit more, so my backhand's a bit more natural than forehand. So if I'm on the left side, my forehand's in the middle, which isn't my strongest shot, in my opinion. When I'm on the right, I've got my backhand in the middle, and we've talked quite a bit about me being a right side player. You just don't really see that in mixed very much, if at all. You'll see some people play straight up sometimes, but you won't really see the guy park on the right and have the woman park on the left with her forehand in the middle. Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest with you, there's quite a few women that have bigger forehands than I do in the middle. So I'm not opposed to having a woman on the left that can smack a forehand in the middle if my backhand hasn't got to it first, which, to be honest, it probably has. Because my backhand comes on you fast.
It sure does.
So my thought process is, if the woman has a stronger forehand on the left than I do, and my backhand middle is better than hers, and if I'm parked in front of the guy, he's going to have a tougher time attacking me. And if I have a good woman on the left that's stronger than the woman right in front of her, because she'll be head-on with the woman, and she can light her up, why is that not a perfect strategy? And you told me it's fundamentally flawed. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I agree. I think
I'm going to provide you with some sound
beautiful
analysis. Sound analysis. So a good team that actually does this a lot is Corinne and Adam. So yes. Corinne will play the ad side a lot with Adam, and I think that's a pretty cool example of how it can work. I actually don't think it's fundamentally flawed. I think it can be good for a lot of reasons. So the first is, what if you are simply the underdog in a matchup where you're just like, do I really want to watch the two women grind cross court when I know mine is typically going to lose that rally? They're either going to miss their dink first, or they're going to pop it up first, and I'm going to get something slammed down my throat. And it's like there are certain matchups where you just know your girl is not up to the same standard as the opponents, and you're just like, we got to try something different. So in a situation like that, perfectly reasonable. And then there's just like a couple of reasons, kind of like you mentioned, why you might want that. First is your girl can hit an Ernie a lot easier on the left side than the other girl can. And when you're dinking straight up, that's a very viable play because they can hit their forehand as a righty, and the other girl's hitting their backhand. So that's also more viable. Like you said, you can kind of prevent your girl from being attacked by the guy as much because he'd have to attack cross court, which is a lot easier to defend. Yep. And you're covering your line. And really what people see as the main disadvantage of this is that the other guy has their forehand in the middle. You have your back in the middle, so you're not going to be able to be as aggressive like off of drops and stuff. So even that, while true, is not my main reason why I dislike it. The main reason is that you can't really keep the other guy out of it as much. So basically, if I ever see that formation, and I'm not saying I haven't had trouble with it from time to time, but I can't remember a time where I've actually lost that formation, simply because if your two girls are dinking straight up, that's the time where I can come furthest over. I can basically crunch my girl off to the the line on the side of the court and say, hey, you got to hit to me now, or you got to try to go cross court with me. So hit cross court, I'll dink it back to you, or you'll give me something attackable, or go down the line, and I can still be there and still get the ball, in which case I'm still favored against you. So that, to me, against certain teams is going to be very unfavorable. But I just get it in certain matchups, you're not going to win the other way around, so you might as well try it just to give them something different to look at, and that can be tough, especially against a team where you're not favored, but also the guy isn't super mobile. I think it's a good play.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's also good just because if you have one of these girls that doesn't really like to dink cross court but just likes to attack the ball, like your more tennis style players, your bangers and stuff like that, much more viable to put them over there. Your Lees, your Anna Lees, it's like, yeah, I mean, when you see Kyle and Anna Lee together, sometimes you see Kyle on the deuce court and Anna Lee on the ad, and that seems to work very well because she just kind of lights up the girl in front of her.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's certainly viable. It's just it really depends on who you're playing and what their style is as well.
Yeah, fair enough. I like it. I'm still going to try it.
Yeah, what I've always said is the ideal mixed doubles team actually is a lefty guy and a righty girl. Then they got straight up, and your girl has that righty Ernie, but that lefty guy can still get in there just as much.
2 forehands in the middle. Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Lefty guy, righty girl. Yeah.
And you wouldn't really want the opposing thing because then you got a lefty girl going straight up with the guy, and she's not going to earn him nearly as much.
Yeah. That's interesting, though, because I don't know. I mean, there's a handful of women that prefer to be in the left in mix. Like, you said Corinne. Who else?
Sarah. I know Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
I think Lee and Anna Lee do.
Yeah.
So when you have them playing with, like, I think we're missing a lot of really good lefty guys. Like Tyler is probably the best one.
Yeah.
But there's nobody really other than him. Maybe Wes. So it's
Cassidy.
Yeah, it's pretty slim. But I'd be interested to see a very good lefty guy and a very good righty girl go ahead. But conversation for another time.
Yep.
What I've actually had questions on recently is switching versus stacking from 2 independent people.
Okay.
This guy Landon, he's one of our dedicated listeners, and gave me a ride back from.
What section are we in?
Strategy.
Oh, I thought we were in the questions of the
week. Not quite yet. These are questions I've had outside of the podcast, but. So Landon gave me a ride back from Brigham City to Salt Lake City at like midnight after we finished on Saturday. So thank you, Landon. And thanks for being a dedicated listener. He was asking about switching versus stacking. Why do I always stack versus switch? What's the difference? Because most people seem to switch instead of stack. And then I also got this question from another person just via Insta, another pro actually. And it's pretty simple to me. So basically why the advantage of switching is that it's a signal. You don't actually know for sure if somebody's going to switch or not, so that can throw some doubt in their minds.
But you do.
Yeah, so some teams will always do it, and some teams will do it some of the time. So, like, for instance, an Adam and Corinne will not always switch. They're going to stay sometimes. So it makes sense for somebody like them.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm playing, it's like,
you're always
I'm going to be on the left side.
What's the point of switching?
There's no point of switching.
And it gets in your line of sight on the ball.
So that's the real disadvantage that people overlook. And they're like, oh, don't you have to run further when you're stacking or something like that? I was like, well, no, it's still the same distance. Your real problem with switching is that when somebody switches, there's always going to be a brief time where that partner switching is in front of the partner that's running diagonal. And if they happen to be on that timing where they block out the ball, then if they drive the ball, that becomes a much more difficult drive to handle. And I don't want to deal with that. So I always stack because I'm always going to be on the left, and I don't want my vision impaired or my partner's vision impaired by that drive.
Especially in mixed, there's so many free points that you can get if you hit a decent serve and you get a short third and you can just drive as they're switching.
I love it when they're switching.
It's my favorite.
Gosh, it's like you just know that they can't see the ball.
Yep.
Tough. So yeah, especially in mixed, I don't really get it. I'm just like, I know you guys are going to be switching, so just stack.
Exactly.
Okay, and then combining one question with one more strategy thing from Mike. One of our most dedicated listeners. He remember Mike is the guy that listened to the podcast we released like the day of. That morning.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said it looks like we had some in-game strategy change in the winners final of mixed doubles at TOC. What do you look for in a match in order to change strategy, and what kind of adjustments might you make? So he's talking about Smony and I were down a game in 5-1 to Riley and Catherine because they went in that new formation that you just talked about where Catherine was on the left side. So what do you look for in a match in order to change strategy? For this, it's pretty simple. I just look for pattern recognition. What are we winning? what is the pattern? What's the combination of shots or the one shot that really makes a difference in the rally? What are we losing? Why are we losing it? That kind of thing. In that particular match, for instance, just as an example, we were just kind of getting this thing where Riley was hitting backhands from like the middle-ish of the court to Simone, and she was getting attacked a lot. And there really wasn't a lot of ball movement or anything like that, and we just kept losing that pattern. And eventually I just said, hey, you don't need to like grind cross court with Riley or anything, but you got to throw it over there just to get him,
Off the middle.
Off the middle of the court, because you can't go line because Catherine's going to earn you, and then you're just going middle with Riley, and it's like that's not a winning strategy. So you really just had to move the ball around. That was just pattern recognition of, hey, we're losing these patterns. And what kind of adjustments might you make? Pretty simple. It's just whatever pattern you're recognizing that's bad, get out of that pattern somehow, and whatever patterns you're recognizing that are good, try to keep getting those.
Yeah. I noticed I think it's a really common theme in terms of, like, when I look back at matches that I've lost, it's because I couldn't recognize the patterns fast enough and get out of them fast enough.
Yeah, it's
and
actually
the pattern just rides it out.
Underrated skill.
Absolutely, because it's very easy to stay in that pattern and wonder, like, why do we keep losing this?
Uh-huh.
And then the match is over.
Right.
So making mid-game adjustments is huge, and I think, if you're not the one to make changes, you should talk about that with your partner ahead of time. Be like, look, if we get stuck in weird patterns, tell me, because sometimes I can't see it, and vice versa, and just communicate that and help each other get out of that pattern. Because I know, like, in my match in Jersey with Eden and against JW and Johnny, like, we just had Eden basically dinking the entire time with Johnny cross court, and Johnny would go middle, dink sometimes, and I would just let that pass and let Eden take it. And I got into this passive role, and we got in these patterns where I just couldn't get us out of them. And if I had taken some of those middle dinks and taken it to J-Dub and gotten into a backhand dink rally with J-Dub, we would have had some more success. But I just couldn't, like, looking back, I just couldn't get out of those patterns.
Yeah.
So.
And at the same time, I'd be wary of being paranoid about strategy, because I feel like a lot of you will try to change it too quickly, and they go to something that they are not familiar with or not comfortable with, and that just causes them to lose straight up. You really want to make sure that you actually recognizing the pattern for what it is. Don't change too early. Like, make sure it's actually a thing, but you didn't just lose 1 point. Oh, can't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, it's just going to happen sometimes, because that's just how pickleball is. So you got to be careful about that, because if you change something you're not familiar with, that's not a good thing. So I would also try to change the strategy in such a way that you're still going to something that you can execute.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. I hope you guys enjoy the strategy stuff. If you want anything in particular, let us know. But we'll throw in some stuff now and again. Oh
no, it's time. I know that face.
Questions of the week. Questions.
And this is going to be a behemoth of a podcast, because we're already at an hour 22.
Oh my gosh. And here I was, it's going to be our longest ever. And here I was thinking this was going to be a short episode. And then we went on a tangent for 13 minutes without even getting to a topic at the beginning. I was like, oh no, it's going to be one of those ones.
I'm liking it, though.
A marathon episode?
More us is good.
More us is good.
I'm going to grab a water. Would you like one?
Sure.
As you start this new segment?
Sure, why not?
Go ahead and start it.
All right. Okay, I'll take a couple. So actually, you know what? Just to add on to this whole marathon thing, I submitted questions to Instagram yesterday on my story I was just like, hey, ask us questions for the podcast tomorrow. And you guys sent in, like, I don't know, 80 or 90 questions. Like, it was an obscene amount. That's just me. Rob did it too, and he's got a ton. So I think we're just going to do rapid fire questions. I saved a lot of them. If we don't address your question, I'm sorry. But hopefully we do, because we're just going to go rapid fire and answer them as quickly as possible. No tangents this time. So I'm going to start off with rapid fire. All right, you got it. I'm going to start. Okay, Robert. Rapid fire. From the Dink. The Dink heard about a player's letter to USA Pickleball about nationals and their vaccination policy. What do you think about it? Well, I may have been somewhat involved in that, and I think basically the USA Pickleball has its hands tied. It's not them mandating any policy. I'm not going to get into vaccinations or not or anything like that. It's simply that the facility is mandating it, and the USA Pickleball is pretty much at the mercy of the facility. They have tried to get things done to no avail. So if you're on that bandwagon of, having liberty and all that, That's fantastic. Good for you. But get mad at Indian Wells, not USA Pickleball, because they don't really have any power in this situation.
Or us.
Or us. From Smash Bros, they want to see us interview some female pro friends. We do interviews as they come along, but I can tell you that the first pro we want to interview is Irina Terashenko, because she's the coolest ever. She's hilarious, and she provides a lot of cool insights. So when we can get her, we absolutely will.
It's funny when, because I did a clinic with you and Irina, and Irina basically told me, she's like, the only reason I come to these is to make Ben less boring. Because you'll be doing your normal routine of like, this is how you hit a dink, this is how you hit a third, and Irina's just there for the comedic relief. She says
she's so funny.
So she adds a lot. She's awesome.
She does. From Ricky, who's your favorite pickleball commentator? I got 3 here: Irina, Morgan, and Cassidy. Irina because she's cool, provides good insight, and she's funny. Morgan is smooth, funny, good insight, kind of the same thing as Irina, but the male side of it. Cassidy, I think, brings a lot of excitement. More energy than the other two, which can get people excited. All right, Robert, why don't you just go rapid fire with some questions? I got all of mine here.
Who are the people from Bad Boy Pickleball? I mean, that's a phenomenal question.
I don't even know.
You don't need to know. Bad Boy Pickleball is a conglomerate. It's like, what are some of the other, like...
Smash Bros.
No. I mean, like those groups where you don't know who they are. Like the hackers. What are the hackers called? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
WikiLeaks? Black Hats?
No.
What are you talking about?
There's like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like some name for this underground group of hackers that I might just be making up in my head. Anyways, they're an anonymous.
I do know what you're talking about, but I don't know what they're.
Who are the ones that wear like the mask? You know what I'm talking about, like the crazy masks that you see and like they're everywhere and
V for Vendetta.
They're nowhere
Guy
but
Fawkes?
everywhere.
Guy Fawkes.
No, kind of, but no. Okay, so who are they? They're just a really funny group on Instagram that I became buddies with. They were at Salt Lake, or they're at TOC. They came up from Salt Lake. That's where they live. And they're funny. Like, the thing that caught my attention about them early was that, like, just the humor. Like, they put their sponsors, and it was like Fire Festival, which was like, if you don't know Fire Festival, there's a amazing documentary on it. Watch it. It was these guys, including Ja Rule, that tried to throw this, kind of music festival in the Caribbean, and it was just all kind of made up. Like, they even got people to the island, and it was like set up with like tents. It looked like a refugee camp, not like a luxury music festival, which people paid thousands of dollars to go to. So they're like Fire Festival, sponsored by Enron, sponsored by Lehman Brothers, just all these defunct companies that just were complete failures. So they're funny, and they're trying to make pickleball fun for the younger generation. Because right now it's still kind of known as an older person sport, RVs, that kind of thing, 50 plus. So they're just trying to bring a good energy to pickleball for the younger generation, which I love. That's Bad Boy Pickleball. How do sponsors work? How do you pay for tournament fees and travel?
With money.
With money. So how do sponsors work? So I just wrote a post today about the cost of pro pickleball. It goes through a lot of the costs associated with playing, including travel, tournament fees, registration fees, all that stuff. Honestly, I would just read that because I spent a lot of time writing it, and
read Robert's stuff. It was well written.
It tells the whole story. But we basically, we pay for tournament fees and travel. I don't know, depends on the sponsor and who's doing it, but some sponsors pay you a stipend or pay you a fee, and then you pay for everything out of your, on your own. Some do reimbursements. It really depends on the sponsor and how it works. But yeah, that's typically it. Anything else?
No.
Okay. What are your pickleball pet peeves? I got one.
What?
Ever since my first tournament, I was just always confused. And even coming into pickleball, looking at stuff online, I was like, why do they have medals? Like, why gold medal, bronze medal, silver? Like, why are they standing on a stand and holding, having medals around their neck, holding their paddles? I've always just thought that's the weirdest thing. Like, you never saw that in tennis. I always found it to be very strange. You know what I really like, which I think should be implemented, is, so I played some tournaments in Scotland right after, tennis tournaments in Scotland right after I graduated. I coached this kid in the Highlands was basically his personal coach, but I also played some of tournaments around there too. And they had, and this is common in Europe, I think, but they had basically a trophy, like one of the big trophies that you see, like think Wimbledon trophy, but for a small tournament up in the Scottish Highlands. But same kind of thing, and each year they would basically etch your name in with the year that you won it.
It's cool.
Which I think's sick because it builds tradition.
Yeah.
Right? Getting a medal at TOC this year didn't really do anything to build tradition.
I don't even know where my TOC medals are.
Exactly. So, but having your name etched into a trophy that's there every year is pretty sick.
Yeah.
So I like that. So tournament directors, listen up. Etch names into
Things.
trophies. Massive trophies. That's, I don't know.
I mean,
that's my little
TOC
take.
does have that. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw that trophy, yeah. Do they etch your name?
I probably.
Okay.
I know I'm on the 2019 one.
Yeah.
Let me show you how to do rapid fire. All right, Robert?
Well, no, dude. Pickleball pet peeves. You got to name one.
I don't think I have any. I can't name one.
Oh, I didn't know we were
It
doing
doesn't-
rapid fire. I know I yelled rapid fire earlier. I didn't realize I was doing rapid fire.
Yeah. I mean, if
I'm
pet peeve
not
isn't
good at rapid
starting-
fire. I like ranting.
You
know
don't want to
how-
get too ranty.
Yeah, kind of. So you don't have any pet peeves?
Nope.
Okay. Question. Okay. Why are pickleball refs so against making pickleball fun? CC horn blowing / crowd cheering. These are from.
I don't know refs that do that.
Yeah. So this is a specific example from TOC. So the bad boy pickleball crew brought a horn, very small. It's not like one of those blow horns that's like. It was like a. It looked like it was a horn, like a medieval horn from, I don't know. But when you blow it, it's like, sounds like a really bad trombone. And so they were blowing that like when, an opponent missed a third, which I think is a perfect time to blow a depressing horn. After you miss a third, come on, it's perfect. But no, I saw, so they were doing that in one of the matches I was playing, and then I saw Byron was like, no, you got to stop that. I was like, this is fun. Pickleball supposed to be fun. We're supposed to, it wasn't like overly loud. It wasn't overly obnoxious. It just, they were chanting. They were doing some singing a little bit. I think pickleball needs it. They weren't being disrespectful at all. They weren't doing anything during points. They weren't, being derogatory to opponents or anything like that. It was just all in good fun. And I think refs and tournament directors should allow that. And I know the Bad Boy Pickleball crew even got warned before they even did anything by the tournament director at TOC. Just because they saw him walking around with Bad Boy Pickleball shirts and a horn, and they got
These guys look like bad news.
they got stereotyped.
Wow.
Accurately, though.
Unbelievable.
But everybody, lighten up. Let's have some fun with pickleball. It's all in good fun.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Okay, I can't do that one. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay. Why don't you just, I just have screenshots here
Sure.
of the questions. Just slide through, ask me whatever you want, and I'm going to do my quickest answers.
I like it.
Just surprise me. Swipe, what do you do? Swipe right. Go right.
I go that
to
way.
see more. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want these first?
You can ask whatever you want in whatever order.
Do you think you will ever stop playing pickleball?
Yeah, eventually.
Such a bad answer.
Basically, if I stop playing pro, I'll
That's
play
good.
occasionally, and
That's
then
just funny.
if I ever get an injury that prevents me from playing, I'll probably always play casually, at least for fun, but a lot more rarely.
Can we get an update on Johnny Goldberg's stomach?
I don't know the inner workings of Johnny Goldberg's stomach.
What's
Sorry,
your favorite drill to work on your hand speed?
Kyle. Where I volley back and forth, doing fast hand stuff. If you ever think, hey, what is the drill to work on this? Probably think of the situation where you need it, and then do that a lot.
What do you look for in a good partner?
Good positivity, and most importantly, a good player.
Do you like playing against Jeff Warnick? Do you ever talk back to him? I saw you stare him down.
I love playing against Jeff. He's hilarious, and I haven't lost to him in a long time. And I don't take his ranting or his comments seriously. They're very funny. I have stared him down. I haven't talked to him during a match for quite a while, but I just think it's funny to give him something back as long as you don't take it too seriously.
If Djokovic trained pickle for 1 week, do you think he would beat you in singles?
No.
I feel like, can we elaborate on this a little bit? Because
Sure.
this is a very common question.
Yeah.
No.
Why?
People underestimate how long it takes to get good at pickleball.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
You cannot just flip a switch from tennis to pickleball and be beating top pros right away. Just I don't care. It doesn't matter how good you are. You've seen this with
So let me tell you a story. It's actually a little bit funny. I find it funny. So Declan and Colin, I introduced them both to pickleball. They're not Novak Djokovic, but they were both professional tennis players. They're both very, very good. When you get that good, like it becomes like a plateau to where it's like
100%.
these guys are very good tennis players. All right, so you can make them akin to other tennis players that are very good. And they started with singles because that was the most natural transition. And this year, like I was 1 or 2 in singles. I was very good, but I wasn't what I am now. And for the first like 1 to 2 months that they were playing, I could still beat them 1-on-2.
oh wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So that should tell you something. It's just people kind of forget about all the stuff that goes into getting good, even at something like singles. Like you got to figure out the paddle mechanics. You got to figure out the movement, the anticipation. You got to figure out how to read stuff. You got to figure out how to even return is completely different than tennis.
And you still need a ton of reps.
You need a lot of reps. You can't get by with the wrong strategy against really good players. It's just a lot more than you think about. Like it's easy to look at somebody and just go, oh yeah, they get good really quickly. Then you kind of forget about everything that went into it.
And I think singles is different than doubles, right? I think a pro like a Djokovic could get very good in singles very fast, not in a week, but he could get good if he trained pickleball singles for quite a while. But doubles is a different beast.
Yeah, and also what you got to think about, like even on something like singles, is that you reach a certain point very quickly, and then it's slow climbing from there. Like Novak would beat, any singles player outside of like the top 20, probably in a week.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot slower.
It's this, and then it's just this for a while, and then slowly it's a slow climb from there.
Right.
And I talk about this like doubles. So Bryan brothers, people always think like, oh, they would dominate men's doubles in a month if they trained.
Yep.
Just not true.
No, it's not.
How long do you think it would take? So this was my take. Unless even if they trained in isolation, the two of them, for a year, just drills, whatever, learning the game, learning doubles, drilled for a year straight, then jumped into the pro tour,
it wouldn't happen.
They would still get smoked.
Yeah, you need to see stuff.
You have to see everything. There's so much
unique stuff.
There's disguise. It just takes time.
Yeah,
you got to see it.
It's also just weird because you can't like a lot of people ask that, and it's almost impossible to predict how long any individual will take. Because I've seen tennis players that were very, very good tennis players, very good doubles players, amazing hands. Like these guys that they were so skilled with, say, their volleys in tennis that you could say their volleys are better than any, like, some given top 10 players in the world right now, just because that's what they were very good at. And I've seen them play pickleball, and it's like, it did not transfer for them. For whatever reason, they didn't get it at all. And then I've seen players where, like, yeah, you were a good D1 college player or whatever. You weren't particularly good at anything, and yet somehow you picked up this sport really well.
Yeah.
It's I haven't really identified even a pattern to it.
No, I don't think there is. All right, enough of that.
Rapid fire.
Where do you use lead tape on your paddle?
The throat, above the handle, below like the middle of the paddle head.
Why?
It offers the most stability for where I most frequently mishit the ball, and it doesn't decrease hand speed as much because it's not as far away from your hands.
Are you going to play Marty Fish in singles?
I hope so.
Let's go, Steve Kuhn. Let's make that happen. Because we talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might have made that rumor up.
You might have.
I think I probably did.
Think you
that
did.
Marty Fish thinks he's the best singles player in the world in pickleball. But it just makes it even better then.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on Caden Nemeth?
Funny little pretty boy.
Thoughts on the rise of J.W. Johnson and at only age 18?
I think he's 19. And, 19, you're in prime physical shape. He's played a lot of tennis. He should be good.
Do you use a new paddle for every tournament you play in?
So I used the one at TOC. I used that one for 2 tournaments. Some guy in Colorado was like, I heard a rumor you use 12 paddles a tournament. I was like, what? That's hilarious. I'd say it's an average of 1 per tournament, approximately.
How often do you change your grip?
About 3 times a day. tournament.
All on the same paddle?
Tournament day, yeah.
So 1 grip per every 2 matches?
Yeah.
Interesting. Why?
Because I like it to be maximum tackiness and not slippery.
It's interesting that you like tacky. I cannot do tacky. I sweat too much. You don't sweat as much as I do.
I don't.
It's weird. A couple more? There's a lot here.
Nah, yeah. Whenever you can just call it whenever. I'm just leaving it all to you.
Do you have any high-level wall drills that you guys use? No.
You'd have to ask Colin about that.
I could see Colin doing high-level wall drills.
He does wall drills.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Rob threw me off playing in New Jersey and Colorado in the same weekend. How was the quick turnaround? Lovely. I was very tired. But I thought I played very well on Sunday. Let's get a game going. Aubrey Marcus and me versus you two in Austin for another week. Aubrey Marcus, you know who that is?
No.
He started On It, which is based here in Austin. They do a ton of supplements. I think he just sold it to Unilever for a boatload of money.
Cool.
But he's I think Steve probably knows him, but he plays a lot of pickleball. But I think it's good for the sport. And I think with Major League Pickleball coming, we're gonna have a lot of interesting people around. So let's do it. That's enough on the rapid fire.
Okay. I think the last segment, spicy stories.
That was a new one.
Yeah, it's gonna be new every
I think
time.
last time you did Australian.
Oh, so this also combined with one of the questions we had. I think it was from Bad Boys, maybe. They asked about my Venice Beach experience with Irina.
Oh yeah,
Paddle tennis.
excited for that one.
And he's like, "What's up with that video? That guy, like, was he serious? Why was he so upset? All that stuff." So the short of it is, me and Irina played this paddle tennis little event in Venice Beach, and basically paddle tennis used to be a big thing. It's not anymore. Venice Beach has like 12 of the 50 courts in the country. It's like the only place where it's even played anymore. It's like tennis with a paddle and a deflated tennis ball. And basically it was kind of for like a TV show. They're hoping like a story where it's revamping Venice Beach and the sport. And basically it was a $50,000 winner take all by invite only tournament. And by invite only, they basically created pro-am teams, like one good player with one, like, I don't know, there was a yoga teacher, there was a bodybuilder.
I was curious about that.
Random stuff.
I was like, no way these dudes are actually pro. Just watching some of the
No.
videos. Okay,
not even a little bit. And basically they hit me up and they invited me and they were like, "Do you want to play?" I was like, "Sure, why not? It seems fun. I've never played before." And they're like, "Okay, well, you can have another pickle partner because, neither of you have ever played before.
Yeah.
We think that'd be cool." So I was like, "All right, let me get Irina." Irina's in, and basically we start warming up. And the day started off pretty funny. Like, Venice Beach is just a strange place. And we're warming up, and basically the organizer that comes over, the guy that invited us there, and he's like, "We didn't anticipate you would look this good this fast. This could be really bad. Can one of you please use this paddle that's worse? Like, it's not good."
So you were wrecking people early.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're like, "Okay, sure, whatever." And we play our first round, and we just wreck them, like, bad. And they're like, "That was like the favorite of the tournament."
Oh,
and they're like, "Oh no." And what's funny is the paddle they gave Irina, she's like, "I'm playing better with this." So then we win our second round too or something, and after that the organizer's like, "A lot of people are not happy about this. Can we give you another handicap?" I was like, "Sure, just give me that." Whatever. This Wilson paddle that basically had no power.
Yeah.
So they double handicapped us with paddles, and that turned out to be, I think, pretty accurate. Like, we won our third match 11-9 or something.
Yeah.
But basically, Venice Beach is known for its characters, and there's this one guy that's nuts. He's just, like, yelling after every point, saying all kinds of weird stuff. He's got beef with multiple people.
But it was serious.
Yeah. No, he was 100% serious. So we play him in the semis, and oh, and Irina's just so great because she immediately starts talking back to him, and I love it. Like, I'm usually just pretty silent, but I'm just watching her interact with him, and it's great. Like, immediately at like 2-1 or something, he hits a volley, and it's a winner, and she just goes, "Lucky shot," and that just sets him off immediately. and basically, him mainly, and a couple other people were just complaining that it's two pros in another sport playing together, and neither of us are severely handicapped.
Sure.
So it's like two mediocre players rather than a really good player and a really bad player. And basically on the changeover, he says, "I didn't come here expecting to play two pros." And I was like, "Bro, we've never played this sport before." And Irina just goes, Well, I didn't come here expecting to play a little bitch, but here we are.
Oh, it's so good. So Irina.
Yeah.
So
That was my
perfect.
favorite time of the whole tournament, and we ended up beating him but losing in the final. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was cool just because the whole storyline was awesome because this bodybuilder and this pro paddle player eventually won, and that's a much better story in them winning for Venice Beach than it
Than
is
you.
just two random
Yeah,
pickleball players. Like
yeah.
it's not their sport and they're not from Venice Beach. That's a terrible
Yeah.
story. That would have been bad.
But to
So,
lose in the final, for you guys to lose in the final is perfect.
yeah, it was.
'Cause-
It was the great story.
That's great.
Yeah, so good for them.
So hopefully that gets on that airs
Mm-hmm.
or it gets created. Oh, but Irina's got good video of that guy. And when
She
I saw it, I
does.
was like, this
Very
guy. This has to be part of like the act.
Mm-mm.
Like, no way, this guy's real.
Mm-mm.
But he was real. That's amazing.
100% real.
He looks like
He's like, I'm gonna come to a pickleball tournament and see how you like it. I was like, that doesn't seem like a good deal for you, bro. That's not a good idea.
He reminded me of like a European Joe Dirt.
That's accurate.
Like he had kind of a mullet, right? Or like kind of a weird haircut.
Yeah, long hair.
Yeah. And wore like shiny clothes.
Mhm.
Not shiny, but like
Yeah.
bright.
Yeah, he like changed his outfit every match.
I like this guy. We need him in pickle. Oh, didn't he say that too? He's like,
Yeah.
you see, I'm gonna be pro pickleball player in a year or something like that, right?
I'm
He's
gonna
like,
come and beat you.
yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea.
No.
Gonna waste your time if we're beating you at this sport.
First time playing.
All right.
Good stuff. We're running deep. Oh, hour 45.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I think that
You know, we'll just see how people respond to a long
Yeah.
episode. You know, if you don't like it,
this is a little bit like Tim Ferriss style, but he usually does interviews this
the
long.
longest one I've seen with him is 3 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah, but it was somebody interesting like Jamie Foxx, and not just
It
two.
was actually a crypto guy.
Okay. Oh, it was Vitalik.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny story. I think you know this. So I know Vitalik Buterin, who's co-founder of Ethereum. His mom came on one of my blackout trips,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I met her kind of the same way I met Adam Franklin, actually, at one of these business events called Mastermind Talks, and she's one of my favorite people in the world. She's so sweet, so nice, from Toronto, and yeah. What's up, Maya? A little crypto connection.
That's pretty cool.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.